What's up, guys? I was unable to be on the podcast last night, and I'll technically be not on the podcast for next Thursday either. But for the Monday episode, I wanted to do a quick... John had mentioned maybe I go in and I say, like, hey, what are my thoughts on these? And I could do that all really quickly. So I figured I'd take a look at the show notes, what we had here. So the poll results was the first thing up. But by the way, I just got back from Disney. Lots of stuff that I took pictures of, lots of really cool things. I saved most of the Star Wars stuff for the Patreon, so look forward to that coming up soon. It'll probably be something kind of similar to what I'm doing. But I wanted to hit up the latest episode, the one that came out on Monday. So of the four characters, the poll results, of the four characters, who do you want to see in the live action? Not surprised that Beckett was the lowest. Actually, I actually kind of am. Maz Kanata, I think, should be the lowest because Maz Kanata to me is like Yoda, and I don't really think anybody wants to see a full movie with Maz Kanata. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Beckett makes a little bit more sense. Chirrut, I think people really like that character and they feel like they didn't get enough with him, but his story's pretty much done, and I think that's evidence in the Guardians of the Whills book. They weren't really doing a whole lot before Rogue One, so I don't really see him having too much to do anyway. My vote would be for Enfys Nest. I think Enfys Nest is probably the most important character for that, out of these four here that would deserve or have the ability to tell another story, a bigger story, more stories, whatever you want. I think she's the one to go for. Best comment was Adam Odell. Let's see here. Okay, so the rumors. Kylo's reforged mask. We're in the Resistance report now. It kind of makes sense to me because I think they could do something that's really like cool and dark and gritty by having this like pieced together mask, and that's what makes him kind of scary. It's like rebuilt or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess I trust the place where it's coming from, and it kind of makes sense. But I think the guys kind of said it the best way they could, is that it doesn't really make sense for him, even though he could have multiple masks. Like, why? I don't know, why would he rebuild this one? It just seems weird. So I think it makes the most sense for Kylo Ren to just have his mask off. So I kind of give it to them on that one. Rey's reforged lightsaber, same thing here. I think she could put it back together, but they would have to do something to make it distinctly different. So I would say maybe a new color, but the hot take here is I think it is going to be blue. I think if they did green, which would be great, it would seem too much like the original trilogy. Like, oh, the hero gets a green one in the third movie. Like, I don't know. I think they want to associate the heroes with having the blue lightsabers. And I don't really know what their plans are with green lightsabers in the future, but we'll see. So I think that she could have a reforged lightsaber, which would be a new one, but built from the same pieces or something along those lines. That could be true. A new droid with BB-8. So this was, let me think here, what was the DO? Like the D10 or something. I don't know if they said that, but it was DO was the name. Kind of makes sense to me, but I'm 100% with John. I wish that they would just do R2-D2, C-3PO, and BB-8 and then give them focus. And the other thing that I would say too is that we were like, oh, we're getting new Resistance droids, right? And they're BB units. Not really. They were in the background. And then we were going to get BB-9E, and it was like this big showdown. And, EW did an article on it, and they had him at the Last Jedi global press conference that I went to, and it wasn't really anything special. Ultimately, he just kind of had a part in the role, a focus. There he was. He caught BB-8, and that was the end of it. So I think if they do have a new droid, I don't know that there's going to be like a big, strong relationship between them. And the fact that the movie takes place a year later was the last one here. Actually, there's a couple more here, but that makes sense too. John and Lacey were right. 3 years for A New Hope to Empire, and then 1 year from Empire to Return of the Jedi. So 1 year after the events. That seems right. It gives enough time for the First Order to take place and get in there and do what they need to do, establish themselves even stronger. So that makes sense. Let's see here. More planet descriptions. I think we're going to see new ones. We're going to possibly see old ones. So there's not really a whole lot to say about that. The Knights of Ren coming back, I think, makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've been talking about that, and this is even more evidence that they're gonna show up. So I'm down with that. This is one that I'm like, I don't buy this at all. The red Stormtrooper variants with black stripes. Now here's the thing, is that I buy that that they would try to do a different Stormtrooper for this movie, because they've done that with the judicials, they've done that with Praetorian Guards, they've done that just just in general, the Death Troopers, for instance. Like, it's a good marketing strategy to say, hey, there's these other kinds of Stormtroopers, but red Stormtroopers to me seems like what the First Order is doing with Phasma and with the characters. Forgive me, I can't think of their names off the top of my head. They haven't been in many episodes of the Resistance with the gold. And then you have Cardinal. And Cardinal is a red Stormtrooper outfit. So to have this is like saying that the new Stormtroopers are going to be all chrome with black stripes. And I'm like, so it looks just like Phasma? That doesn't make sense to me, like on a ranking system. So I think that if they were going to have red Stormtroopers, then they would have to say that makes them look like they are Cardinal, and that doesn't make sense to me. So I think canon-wise, that won't happen. If they want to do like white Stormtroopers with red stripes, that makes sense, or something with red in them, kind of like how they did with the judicials. They had the black on the side. That makes sense to me, but like that would be like saying there's going to be new First Order troopers with an all black design. I'm like, so they're pretty much Death Troopers? Like, that would be weird and confusing to me. So I say absolutely not. That's not happening. That's just my guess. From Collider episode 9 footage coming this month. This was from Frosty. I trust Frosty. I like him. But it seemed really much like an opinion. He's saying, I'd be surprised if, and doesn't really give any sort of hint like, I've heard rumblings that, or there's a trailer or a teaser that's been made. I'd be surprised if they don't release it before Christmas. Nothing like that. Just was a vibe that he got. And it was funny because everybody was talking about that. And then Kevin Smith was on the Lights Camera Barstool, the podcast that they do, and he was talking about, he was like on the set and stuff, and like barely anybody was talking about it. And I'm like, why is everybody talking about Frosty and the possibility? He personally would be surprised if there was not a trailer. And yet Kevin Smith is saying like, hey, I went to the set and this is the stuff that I saw, and it wasn't getting as much reporting, it felt like. But I think when it comes to the trailer coming out, my gut just says they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait until they could start putting these in front of Avengers 4 or Captain Marvel or something like that. Lacey's bet is on Mary Poppins, and I think that while that does make sense, I think there's a lot going before Mary Poppins, and I think that they could, if they wanted to put some bigger movies in front of, if they wanted to put some Star Wars movies, let's say, in front of movies that they already know are going to make big money, then they should put them in front of some of the other Marvel movies, and that makes sense to me. So I still think, I don't think it's coming this year. I think it's coming next year. But then the Kevin Smith stuff, man, this was amazing. I was so happy. Some of the biggest sets you've ever seen, the career performance, the best of career performance thing. I am with John. I think that's Mark Hamill, but I would think if there is any second bet, it would be Adam Driver. That makes the most sense. So I'm kind of with Lacey on that, but I'm mostly with John because of it just seems to me that Mark Hamill, it's more of a compliment to someone who is older to say this is your career best. than to someone who's been in, I don't know, a number off the top of my head, eight movies, let's say. I don't know how many movies Adam Driver's been in, but let's say he's been in 8 and he's young, and you're saying, oh, it's his career best. Okay. It seems kind of odd, but it could technically be true. It just is a compliment to say he just gets better and better. You know what I mean? And I think something like that would be a better way to say a compliment to someone who is as young as Adam Driver. Like, you know, and some of these actors, I'm not quoting, but like some of these actors, they just get better and better and better. And I'm seeing some of these performances, and it's just like some of the best I've ever seen them do. You know, this is a different way to say a career best. Career makes you feel kind of like it's coming to a close, but they're still killing it, kind of thing. So I think it's about Mark Hamill. I love everything that he had to say about... maybe there is a plot twist. I don't know. We'll find out. We need to look up the definition of the word plot twist. Most of you guys will get that joke. Nick Nolte being in The Mandalorian. I love this, but I don't know anything about Nick Nolte. I'm not joking. I heard this news, and I looked him up, and I've never seen any of his movies. I don't know anything about him. I barely even know the name. I was like, that name sounds familiar to me. John was freaking out that I don't know who that is, but I'm sorry. I don't know who Nick Nolte is. I've never seen him in anything. I couldn't even tell you what he looked like. Wouldn't be able to pick him out in a crowd. I think I kind of was looking at what he looked like visually, which I already kind of forget what he looks like, but I remember thinking when I looked at pictures of him that I was more on board with what John was saying, which was the mentor type kind of person. And I think I even said something about how it reminded me like of Anthony Hopkins' character in The Mask of Zorro. Like, I used to be Zorro, but now I'm not anymore. And if you want to be the new Zorro, you got to do this stuff. And he's whipping him into shape, kind of thing. So maybe something like that. I love the Galaxy of Adventure stuff. I think that stuff's all cool. This was part of the rundown, the Vader, the Dark Visions thing. That's all neat. The Thrawn book looks amazing. I can't wait for the next Thrawn book. That story's crazy. I wish that it would have been after the events of Rebels, because we would have gotten a little bit of a conclusion on, or at least a little bit more of the story, what happens afterwards. But it looks like they're going to try to do it beforehand, so then nothing gets spoiled for whatever future plans they have for Ezra and Thrawn together. And then what would have been my question was, what if Rey decides to sacrifice her life in order to kill Kylo Ren? Could they both die? So the funniest thing in Monday's episode was Lacey saying there's only 2 possibilities. Either they both live or they both die. And John going, or Rey lives and Kylo Ren dies, you know. But and obviously the opposite too, which both John and Lacey seem to push aside, is that I don't think Rey would die and Kylo Ren would live. That would be weird. I'm in agreement with that. I think that would be weird. I think that it would be more likely that they would both live. But would they both die? I don't think so. And I think all the points were stated by really both of them being Lacey and John, that they're not going to kill off Rey. That doesn't, I don't see that happening. Especially with Mark Hamill saying, you know, I will not be the last Jedi. And even if that means, even if you could take that and put it into some sort of perspective where he was talking about Rey continuing on the Jedi, or he could be talking about Ben Solo continuing on the Jedi. I'm not really sure, whatever context, but either way, it's got to be one of those two, right? If both of those characters die, how does the Jedi Order continue to go on, right? So there's something that's missing from that, and I just don't see how both of those characters could die. What I could see is possibly Rey doing something that would be like how Rose saved Finn. Like maybe Kylo Ren is going to do something that would kill himself, but then Rey saves what she loves instead of killing what she hates. So she saves Ben Solo. That's a little Reylo-esque, but I don't know. Sometimes I kind of lean towards that possibility that maybe they would shy away from the Vader story of like kind of what John's saying, which I think is ultimately probably the best option for the way the characters are going. I'll talk more about that later, I'm sure. But I tend to lean towards that neither one of the characters would die, but Rey could do something that could save Kylo's life. But she wouldn't die from it. She would do that unless they think that's too close to what happened in Last Jedi with Rose and Finn. Then there was one other question too. Will Rey become the most powerful and well-rounded Jedi by the end of Episode 9? That one's tricky. No. Well, no, I don't think so. I think that the best way, and I think they're going to talk about this on Thursday, is the power level thing. How powerful can a Jedi be? And some sort of demonstration of power that could very easily make someone be like, oh, well, that person's easily the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. And I don't know. Sometimes I think that is the powers are supposed to remain mysterious. And so I don't see, like right now we kind of have this vague notion that maybe Luke Skywalker was the most powerful, or maybe it was Anakin because he was technically the chosen one and he was the one who technically defeated the Emperor. So I'm kind of thinking that if they're going to say it could be Anakin, it could be Luke, then maybe Rey will do something that will be like really powerful and it will be the thing that destroys Kylo Ren or something like that. But I don't see her doing something powerful enough to destroy an army or a planet or something crazy that would definitively put her above Luke. I think it needs to be something unique, but debatably stronger than Luke. Like some people will say, oh, I think that definitely makes her stronger than Luke, and others will say, no way, Luke had to learn this and do this, and I don't know. Whatever they do, it'll be great, but I don't think it's going to be definitively that like, oh, well, now that she's was able to use the Force to blow up 50 planets, that pretty much means she's definitively the most strongest Jedi that has ever lived. So that's it. So that's all I got. That was the episode. Maybe I'll do this for Thursday. I don't know. It's kind of tricky. But yeah, I will catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.